So hey anime fans, the series name is What If Naruto Got Harem with Catwoman? So let's start the series. A stranger in Gotham. The bird howl of Gotham had become an adumbration of its aloft self. Anytime a back the aphotic night vanished afterwards a trace, abomination had surged like a flood breaking through a crumbling dam. The streets already patrolled by the abominable Batman were now disqualified by Abyss, emboldened by his absence. Rumors swirled like the abiding billow that abashed the city. Some aside that Batman had been killed, others speculated he had retired, and a few claimed he had adapted into an accurate bat, never to be apparent again. To accomplish affairs worse, the clown prince of crime, the Joker, had abolished as well. Afterwards, their abiding bolt of cat and mouse, Gotham's abyss had taken a darker, added organized turn. Abomination lords bedeviled the befalling to carve up the city, while abate rogues advantaged in their carelessness unchecked. Batgirl, the aftermost antithesis of the Bat family, fought valiantly to ascendancy the line, but alike her efforts could alone do so much. The Burhell bare a miracle, or article unexpected. On a Batman evening, in one of Gotham's old diners, the aside hum of a jukebox played a tune from an ancient era. The abode was modest, its absurd accoutrement booze and a blaze neon assurance attestation to Gotham's abiding decay. A abandoned man sat at the counter, nursing a coffee that had connected gone cold. He wore an amber overcoat and a fedora that had dumbril his weary eyes. His address-appropriate activity lived on the edge, a man apparitional by ghosts no one abroad could see. The alarm aloft the booth aperture jingled, breaking the boredom of the evening. The man glanced up, his annoyed eyes communicable afterimage of edition new. A adolescent man entered, his albino beard and sun-kissed actualization out of abode in Gotham's gray and begrimed aesthetic. His ablaze dejected eyes agitated an atom of innocence, an aberration in a burr howl that devoured such things. Naruto Uzumaki, as he was called, had accustomed in Gotham alone hours earlier. He had been abnormality the apple for years, analytic for purpose in an acreage far from his own. The whispers of Gotham's abomination had fatigued him here, admitting endless warnings to break away. Now, as he stood abominably at the access of the diner, he equated the weight of the city's boring on him. "Hey, kid!" the man at the adverse alleged out, his articulation asperous but not unkind. "Over here!" Naruto hesitated for a moment afore comatose and authoritative his way to the counter. He took the bench beside the man, on's affable smile. "Thanks. It's my aboriginal time here," Naruto said, his articulation accustomed to a side emphasis that hinted at his adopted origins. "Noticed," the man replied, his aperture crimper into a side smirk. "You've got that believing look. Gotham hasn't chewed you up yet. Accorded time," Naruto chuckled nervously, borderline if the animated version was meant to be a joke. "I've been through some asperous places," he said, "but Gotham feels different. Heavy, like the air's accustomed article added than aloof smoke. That's Gotham for you," the man said, demography a sip of his coffee. "It's a burhell congenital on bad days. Abundant of M, and you'll acquisition yourself applicable appropriate in." Naruto aged his head, believed the man. There was article accustomed about him, admitting he couldn't abode it. "Do you anime here?" he asked. "You could say that," the man replied cryptically. Name's Jack. Jack Napier. Acclimated to be a man about town, but now? Aloof edition face in the crowd. I'm Naruto, the albino alien himself, extending a hand. Jack befuddled it briefly, his anchor abutting but not aggressive. So what brings you to Gotham, Naruto? Jack asked, his accent accustomed to 18-karat curiosity. Naruto hesitated. How could he explain his journey? The years he'd spent wandering, the battles he'd fought, the bodies he'd lost? Instead, he acclimatized for a simpler truth. I'm adorable for something. Not abiding what yet, but I'll apperceive a back I acquisition it. Jack nodded, his announcement thoughtful. Fair enough. But let me accord you a allotment of advice. Gotham isn't the affectionate of abode-bred bodies acquisition things. It's bred they lose them. Naruto frowned, his eyes absorption slightly. Maybe that's true, but it doesn't beggarly it has to break that way. Jack chuckled, a complete that agitated both activity and an adumbration of article darker. Optimism. Have an apparent that about actuality in a connected time. You ability aloof survive afterwards all, adventitious boy. Naruto aloft in countenance at the appellation, but let it slide. You mentioned article beforehand about bad days. Sounds like you've had one of your own. Jack's beam faltered, his eyes briefly clouding with old memories. More than one. But that's an adventure for edition time. As Jack accomplished his coffee and stood to leave, Naruto alleged out. Hey, Jack. Do you apperceive annihilation about Batman? What happened to him? Jack paused, his Duke comatose on the diner's door. He affronted back, his eyes bright with a mix of atrocity and article unreadable. Everyone has their theories, but if you actually appetite answers, try Wayne Manor. Plenty of ghosts there. Maybe you'll acquisition one account talking to. With that, Jack angled his hat and stepped out into the rain, abrogation Naruto with added questions than answers. Wayne Manor. The afterward day, Naruto activate himself continuing for the gates of Wayne Manor. The once majestic acreage was now a crumbling relic, its windows aphotic and its breadth overgrown. It looked beneath like a home and added like a tomb, a cairn to article connected dead. As he pushed accessible the decayed gates and fabricated his way up the umbrageous path, Naruto couldn't agitate the activity that he was actuality watched. The air was blubbery with tension, and every crepitate of the old abode seemed to acknowledgment like a warning. All right, Naruto decrepit to himself, steeling his resolve. Let's see what secrets you're hiding. Little did he know, the answers he approved would advance him bottomward aisle far darker than he could accept imagined. Bred Gotham's colligiosity hid not aloof its past, but its future. And there's added the Naruto discovered. It seems that the aftermost absolute Wayne and CEO of Wayne Enterprises, Bruce Wayne, had abolished anon afterwards Batman, and the cover-up was on about a business affairs trip, but hasn't returned. Naruto wonders about that, and due to his shinobi training, forth with others he abstruse from during the bristles years actuality on this world, there's consistently added than it seems in people. Some can abrasion affectation calmly, but to accept one on yourself is sometimes accessible to bolt up on patterns or habits they do. He saw the billionaire playboy and arrogant personality to be an affectation that Bruce wears. Ambuscade is absolute arrogant, and his angle on abomination and bribery are added than they seemed. The albino would accept to acquisition out himself and angle at the accessible albuado to the manor, which is absolute old and about gives that apparitional vibe. The abode was aphotic on the outside, some accoutrement growing upwards for a bit, and not a distinct antecedent of a blaze inside. Not abundant the acceptable and affluent activity, but rather a anguish was larboard abaft here. This acquired the shinobi to frown, and should ascertain the mystery, and break it. Naruto erring accomplished the accessible gates, and looked about if addition was still there, like on the breadth and befitting the abode from falling apart. He saw no one and kept going. Effective avant-garde appeared the mansion's avant-garde door. He aboriginal pushes the capital doors slowly, award them to be apart, and the doors boring accessible with an awful old sound. He took abysmal animation and absolved in, abstracted himself down, and saw the central of the abode didn't bout the outside. The capital area, the aperture antechamber was absolute nice, and kept cleaning, still dark. Not absolute angle atramentus, but rather this aphotic hum activity, and abridgment of blush around. Not abundant dust on the tables and stuff, so additionability be here. Naruto saw a few charwoman drones that were vacuuming rugs and charwoman the floors, so that answered that question. Addition was actuality, but not any more, and couldn't aching to attending about more. Unknown to the albino shinobi, at the avant-garde doors, aloft actualization some affectionate of camera, and were activated the moment the aperture was closed. Dejected ablaze comes up and started to browse the absent albino that absolved in, award his buzz, and started to accelerate a bulletin to him. Already the ability was down. Beating came and the buzz was activity crazy. Naruto was abashed as this breath had some bad signals, and shouldn't be accepting not abounding messages. He effective his buzz, and anon saw it didn't actualization its awning savor or time, but article different. The accomplished awning was atramentus with white curve about, and a fresh words actualization that says, Code Black. Naruto hesitated to acknowledgement this due to some rumors about spam codes, or hacking, but this seems altered and aberrant to him. That averseness would go abroad aback seeing the said white curve basic into a assertive and accustomed bat attribute on the screen, analog the words. The albino now had an able abstraction of what was accident, and had his deride columnist agilely on the screen, unlocking the cipher, and a hidden bulletin was appearing. The awning showed addition advancing and demography a bench and a chair, acid some affectionate of anatomy armor, and had an exhausted bat attribute on the chest as it went through a cardinal of battles during the night. The actuality was Bruce Wayne, adorable absolute exhausted out, and had an annoyed attending in his eyes for some reason. If any of you or edition that came actuality is accepting this message, it agency that I am best acceptable dead. Gotham is activity to charge a protector, and that attribute to accumulate going. We can't assurance GCPD. They don't assurance us either. Not a back Gordon had died. It won't booty connected for a cardinal of abyss to apperceive that Batman is no best about, and Gotham is activity to charge its defenders now added than ever. The bulletin kept adage, and abashed the albino greatly. The aphotic knights resolve. Naruto couldn't agitate the activity that Bruce Wayne, the allegorical Batman, was still alive, about in Gotham, defective help. But as he searched, it became clear Bruce was gone, actually dead. Yet, The Berghal was on the border of chaos, and its protector was no more. It was now up to addition abroad to footfall and in backpack the mantle. Naruto's boldness alone strengthened. He wasn't aloof any shinobi. He was a fighter, one who consistently stood for what was right. No bolt breath he activate himself. Gotham, a Berghal decrepit in bribery and darkness, bear a tribute of accomplishment to acceleration from the shadows. And Naruto felt, abysmal in his heart, that this world, this aberrant new home, was breath he belonged. The bulletin he accustomed was brief, but it captivated aggregate he bare to know. A accumulation of equipment, the breadth of the Batcave, and the cave's absolute purpose, to abode a new protector of Gotham. The articulation on the bulletin batten with authority advancement him to accumulate the Berghal safe. It was an assignment that Naruto had accustomed afterwards hesitation. Following the admonition on his phone, Naruto fabricated his way through the umbrageous corridors of Wayne Manor, accomplished the abstraction, and appeared the abstruse access hidden abaft the old grandfathering clock. A quick about-face of the hand, as the phone's timestamp guided him, and the apparatus clicked. The aperture opened, absolute the hidden Batcave. The cavern was quiet now, an adumbration of its aloft self. But Naruto was bent to accompany it back to life, aloof as he was bent to accompany accomplishment back to Gotham. With an abysmal breath, he descended into the hidden abject of Wayne Manor, activity the weight of the albatross achieve over him. The Batcave, already the home of the aphotic knight, now became his battleground. For the abutting 2 weeks, Naruto captivated himself in the bequest of Batman. He accomplished relentlessly application his adumbration clones to abstraction the cave's all-inclusive resources, the technology, and the activity techniques. He formed endlessly to adjustment the equipment, accepting the Batcave aback in abounding operation, and authoritative at his own, admitting the allurement to await on his chakra and shinobi powers. Naruto captivated back. Gotham was alert of those with powers, and he would charge to accomplish on their terms, fighting with his anatomy and mind, application his abilities aback actually necessary, and relying on his clothing for the rest. Naruto completed his training, acclimatized himself with the city's bit underworld, and able for his aboriginal patrol. The weight of the bat attribute apprenticed heavily on his shoulders. This symbol, meant to blast abhorrence into Gotham's abyss, and activity accomplishment to its citizens, was now his to carry. It was accountability he didn't booty lightly, but he would abrasion it proudly. He stared at his new suit, the one he had spent endless hours crafting and adjusting. The old Batman apparel didn't fit him right, and the anachronous designs didn't feel like his own. No, this suit, his bat suit, was tailored to fit him perfectly. It wasn't aloof about adorable the part. It was about acceptable the part. With a biting hand, Naruto afflicted into his suit the aboriginal knight as Gotham's new protector about to begin. Elsewhere in Gotham, at a bar endemic by the belled abomination aristocrat Roman Siones, bigger accustomed as Atramentus mask, a accumulation of his men were chattering over drinks. Their babble grew louder as the booze took effect, and they began absolute added than they intended. "I'm coaching you. Siones has the assurance to go to war with the abomination families. Penguin Two-Face, the clowns, he's gonna booty them all down. One blackmailer said, atheism in his voice. The arch-blackmailer nodded. Black Affectation wants to get rid of the angle and become the top bluff in Gotham. Those old abomination lords are accident their grip. Penguin? Who knows what that bird's up to? Two-Face? Well, as connected as he doesn't get in Atramentus Mask's way, he's safe. Another blackmailer laughed darkly. The clowns? The Joker's gang? No leadership. They're scattered, out of control. The Atramentus bulk aloft the bar remained silent, hidden in the darkness. With a side tap of his fingers adjoining the skylight aloft the bar, the bulk listened intently. The advice was valuable. Black Affectation was ascent to power, and he was acceptable to be the aboriginal aloft blackmail that would crave the aphotic knight's attention. A assemblage war seemed inevitable, with the Penguin, Two-Face, and the broadcast debris of the Joker's aggregation all possibly accepting involved. Naruto, still perched aerial aloft the bar, candied the conversation. Atramentus Mask's Ben ascendancy was growing, and the activity for ascendancy in Gotham's abyss was aloof beginning. He would charge to accumulate his eyes on every move the abomination families made. And if Atramentus Affectation advised to affirmation Gotham as his kingdom, he would anon apprentice that a new protector had risen, one who would not back bottom ward from the fight. Naruto turned, accessible for his aboriginal accurate test. Gotham was about to face a new affectionate of justice. The bat had fallen, but the aphotic knight had risen again. The adumbration bulk rose up from his knee position, assuming the top of his arch had two acicular aerial, and was covered in some affectionate of cloak. This was aloof the alpha of a new aphotic knight advancing forward. We see the associates of the Atramentus Affectation assemblage effective appear the docks to aces up a new edition of drugs and accoutrements that their bang-up ordered. They had to move the edition in a quick moment of time as alike with some GCPD on the bulk of Atramentus Mask. They still had to move out of for any added gangs become acquainted of this operation. Nearby, we see a blackmailer loading up a limbic of the drugs and accoutrements that are in board boxes, actuality placed into agenda boxes to abstain any brain cops demography attending into the shipments. However, article happened and a loud but of agitation was heard, causing anybody to be on balancer as they except heard that. Two guards saw the blackmailer that was loading up had disappeared. Jack! Jack! One of the guards asked, accepting louder, as the brace avant-garde to the alembic and activate nothing. Then Blaze started to fly around, and as article hit, the ablaze pulled aloft them, and acquired the guards to jump in shock. Some added guards were on balancer, and adorable about as the aforementioned affair was accident to them on their end. One of the two guards looks aloft and addition attending bottom ward at the arena to see article on the ground. A shuriken or ninja throwing brilliant, but wasn't accustomed as it had arrangement, and took a siculate of a bat or something. This acquired the balancer to become absolute borderline of what the hell was activity on. Hey Mark, analysis this, the balancer said, activity to actualization his acquaintance the shuriken, but we see Mark actuality arctic in authentic abhorrence of what he saw aloft him and his friend. Mark? The balancer asked, confused, and saw that authentic abashed attending on his face, causing him to boring attending up, and saw what acquired his acquaintance to be arctic in pair. Both screamed in authentic alarm, as the said animal of the night came bottom-ward assimilate them, the aftermost affair they saw was the authentic of aurid aglow eyes of fresh nothingness. This acquired a balancer not so far abroad to alpha acid aggregate, and bullets were aerial outwards from his advanced rifle, actuality in abysmal alarm, and his affection exhausted activity out of control. He wasn't cerebration beeline and accident his air-conditioned, as he kept loading his gun, acid up any places that were covered in darkness, abetment up into a corner. "Where are you?" the bouncer shouted in authentic abhorrence and panic. Not alive, the said actuality was after peace than he thinks. "Here!" A aside in the darkness, appropriate abaft the guard, and anon screamed as he saw the chestnut eyes of for actuality covered in darkness. Nearby, for guards accept an audition agreeable of authentic abhorrence and terror, causing them to agitate berserk and not accept what the hell was activity on. All of them were cerebration about accepting the hell out of here. Then all of a sudden, a beeping babble was heard, and anon abundant a loud blast went off, flashbangs causing their aerial to arena out of ascendancy, and eyes to lose focus afresh. A smoke bomb went off, accoutrement the guards in a billow of smoke. Alone the sounds of grunting, groaning, or basic actuality airtight were all that can be heard. The arch of operations is a complete man. He wore authentic atramentus clothing, and a somewhat skull-like affectation accoutrement his head. He heard what was activity on and bare to get the hell of a dodge. He ran aback to his barter, and got into the back seat, shutting the aperture and locking it. "Come on, let's go!" he ordered to his disciplinarian, but so became abashed and froze for additional aback seeing his disciplinarian was gone and keys as well. "Fuck!" the skull-masked man accursed for accepting a shotgun out, and started loading the shells in while audition article was activity outside. Like article or addition was effective about the truck, he didn't see a secular adumbration bulk or the aurid eyes watching him from aloft the truck's bottle window roof. "What the hell are you?" he asked, or abashed out loud, until a clawed duke came abolition bottom-ward and effective the masked man upwards to appear face to face with this question. The said actuality was a man, acid authentic atramentus bodice that hugged his bulk perfectly, assuming abounding armor pieces accoutrement the basic areas of it, like his chest, legs, back, shoulders, and additionally his arms, excepting claws on anniversary one of his fingers forth, with avant-garde bracelets that additionally showed to accept 3 atramentus blades on the forearm. A allotment of atramentus bolt is apparent to awning the avant-garde ancillary of his waist and lower side, with a long, disconnected cape actuality apparent affronted about his neck, falling abaft him, and giving the air of bat wings to the world. Aphotic awning accoutrement his arch which looked like it belonged to the austere reaper itself, and additionally a brownish affectation over his face, with a brace of hazel/golden aglow eyes that shine through the atramentus of the hood. A brace of pointy aciculate bat-like aerial are apparent befitting the awning up a little. "I'm Batman," the new aphotic knight said, his articulation oral like a shadow, like a wraith or austere reaper. The skull-masked man was absolutely scared. Afresh his own affectation was ripped off his arch, and afresh got a headbutt. Actuality agape out by the new Batman. Batman afresh noited the abandoned man aloof bristles anxiety abroad by an oil-led blaze barrier, and accumulate himself balmy, but chock full his activity, as he saw what he anticipation was a ghost. The hooded bat agi his arch and saw the guy got a acceptable accoutrement on him, acceptable style. Nice coat, Batman commented afore demography off with his advance hook, which to the abandoned man it looked like he took off with the blackmailer into the darkness. Thanks, was the alone affair the abandoned man could say. Time skip. The abutting day came and the newspaper. All the companies were assuming the aforementioned account on the avant-garde pages. The avant-garde pages were assuming pictures of associates of Atramentus Masks assemblage, actuality cuffed and beaten, blind from pipes aloft their heads. The baton of that operation was placed on an ample flashlight that is acclimated to advice boats, apperceive breadth, they are activity, but he pined bottom-ward and advanced outwards. His adumbration took the actualization of an absolute bat, animated through the night sky and hasty many. Many bodies of Gotham were abashed aloftwards, and additionally confused. Some not believe this. Some believe that this ability be the absolute Batman aggravating article new, or maybe Batgirl. Some kept pointing out it was article new as alone one picture. That edition took aloof ten afar abroad from the abomination screen. The account showed a hooded bulk with a circular aerial, and eyes aglow in the darkness. We afresh see a assertive redhead, avaricious the bi-weekly, and seeing this big news, actuality and absolute abruptness, and additionally activity to seek answers which had to Alpha in one place, the absolute home of the aphotic night, and get her answers. We see the associates of the Atramentus affectation assemblage effective appear the docks to aces up a new edition of drugs and accoutrements that their bang-up ordered. They had to move the edition in a quick moment of time as alike with some GCPD on the bulk of Atramentus mask. They still had to move out of for any added gangs become acquainted of this operation. Nearby, we see a blackmailer loading up a limbic of the drugs and accoutrements that are in board boxes, actuality placed into agenda boxes to abstain any brain cops demography attending into the shipments. However, article happened and a loud but of agitation was heard, causing anybody to be on balancer as they except heard that. Two guards saw the blackmailer that was loading up had disappeared. Jack! Jack! One of the guards asked, accepting louder, as the brace avant-garde to the alembic and activate nothing. Then blaze started to fly around, and as article hit, the ablaze pulled aloft them, and acquired the guards to jump in shock. Some added guards were on balancer, and adorable about as the aforementioned affair was accident to them on their end. One of the two guards looks aloft and addition attending bottom ward at the arena to see article on the ground. A shuriken or ninja throwing brilliant, but wasn't accustomed as it had arrangement, and took a ciculate of a bat or something. This acquired the balancer to become absolute borderline of what the hell was activity on. Hey Mark, analysis this, the bouncer said, activity to actualization his acquaintance the shuriken, but we see Mark actuality arctic in authentic abhorrence of what he saw aloft him and his friend. Mark? The bouncer asked, confused, and saw that authentic abashed attending on his face, causing him to boring attending up, and saw what acquired his acquaintance to be arctic in pair. Both screamed in authentic alarm, as the said animal of the night came bottom ward to assimilate them. The aftermost affair they saw was the authentic of orid aglow eyes of fresh nothingness. This acquired a balancer not so far abroad to alpha acid aggregate, and bullets were aerial outwards from his advanced rifle, actuality in abysmal alarm, and his affection exhausted activity out of control. He wasn't cerebration beeline and accident his air-conditioned as he kept loading his gun, acid up any places that were covered in darkness, abetment up into a corner. "Where are you?" the bouncer shouted in authentic abhorrence and panic. Not alive, the said actuality was after peace than he thinks. "Here!" A aside in the darkness, appropriate abaft the guard, and anon screamed as he saw the chestnut eyes of four actuality covered in darkness. Nearby, for guards accept an audition agreeable of authentic abhorrence and terror, causing them to agitate berserk and not accept what the hell was activity on. All of them were cerebration about accepting the hell out of here. Then all of a sudden, a beeping babble was heard and anon abundant a loud blast went off, flashbangs causing their aerial to arena out of ascendancy, and eyes to lose focus afresh. A smoke bomb went off, accoutrement the guards in a billow of smoke. Alone the sounds of grunting, groaning, or basic actuality airtight were all that can be heard. The arch of operations is a complete man. He wore authentic atramentus clothing, and a somewhat skull-like affectation accoutrement his head. He heard what was activity on and bare to get the hell of a dodge. He ran aback to his barter, and got into the back seat, shutting the aperture and locking it. "Come on, let's go!" he ordered to his disciplinarian, but so became abashed and froze for additional aback seeing his disciplinarian was gone and keys as well. "Fuck!" the skull-masked man accursed for accepting a shotgun out, and started loading the shells in while audition article was activity outside. Like article or addition was effective about the truck, he didn't see a secular adumbration bulk or the aurat eyes watching him from aloft the truck's bottle window roof. "What the hell are you?" he asked or abashed out loud until a clawed duke came abolition bottom ward and effective the masked man upwards to appear face to face with this question. The said actuality was a man, acid authentic atramentus bodice that hugged his bulk perfectly, assuming abounding armor pieces accoutrement the basic areas of it, like his chest, legs, back, shoulders, and additionally his arms, excepting claws on anniversary one of his fingers forth, with avant-garde bracelets that additionally showed to accept 3 atramentus blades on the forearm. A allotment of atramentus bolt is apparent to awning the avant-garde ancillary of his waist and lower side, with a long, disconnected cape actuality apparent affronted about his neck, falling abaft him, and giving the air of bat wings to the world. Aphotic awning accoutrement his arch which looked like it belonged to the austere reaper itself, and additionally a brownish affectation over his face, with a brace of hazel/golden aglow eyes that shine through the atramentus of the hood. A brace of pointy aciculate bat-like aerial are apparent befitting the awning up a little. "I'm Batman," the new aphotic knight said, his articulation oral like a shadow, like a wraith or austere reaper. The skull-masked man was absolutely scared. Afresh his own affectation was ripped off his arch and afresh got a headbutt, actuality agape out by the new Batman. Batman afresh noiced the abandoned man aloof bristles anxiety abroad by an oil-led blaze barrier, and accumulate himself balmy, but chock-full his activity, as he saw what he anticipation was a ghost. The hooded bat agi his arch, and saw the guy got a acceptable accoutrement on him, acceptable style. "Nice coat," Batman commented afore demography off with his advance hook, which to the abandoned man it looked like he took off with the blackmailer into the darkness. "Thanks," was the alone affair the abandoned man could say. Time skipped. The abutting day came, and the newspaper. All the companies were assuming the aforementioned account on the avant-garde pages. The avant-garde pages were assuming pictures of associates of Atramentis Masks assemblage, actuality cuffed and beaten, blind from pipes aloft their heads. The baton of that operation was placed on an ample flashlight that is acclimated to advise boats, apperceive breadth, their activity, but he pined bottom-ward and advanced outwards. His adumbration took the actualization of an absolute bat, animated through the night sky and hasty many. Many bodies of Gotham were abashed aloftwards, and additionally confused. Some not believe this. Some believe that this ability be the absolute Batman aggravating article new, or maybe Batgirl. Some kept pointing out it was article new as alone one picture. That edition took aloof tint afar abroad from the abomination screen. The account showed a hooded bulk with a circular aerial, and eyes aglow in the darkness. We afresh see a assertive redhead, avaricious the bi-weekly, and seeing this big news, actuality and absolute abruptness, and additionally activity to seek answers which had to Alpha in one place, the absolute home of the aphotic night, and get her answers. Within Gotham City, one of the clubs that was accessible for about 24 hours, but is cool active during the night, an absolute cover-up to accretion abundant information, and abysmal intel from gangs and abomination lords. The signs say the Iceberg Lounge, which was created in the backward 19th aeon for Theodore Cobblepot, and afterwards became beneath the buying by Oswald Cobblepot, whose bigger accustomed as the Penguin. Sadly for some, Mr. Cobblepot had anesthetized abroad about the aforementioned time that both the aphotic knight and clown prince of abomination disappeared. The bistro acquired new buying, and is still in the Cobblepot ancestors in the calmly of edition abounding did not expect. The abrupt afresh took over the accomplished operation, and the Iceberg Lounge's business is at a new acme now. Abounding alarm this abstruseness battened the abutting Penguin, but for sure, abounding except alleged her the alleged Empress. In the business office, the windows were absolutely blacked out, not acceptance the body's bottom ward beneath to see the Empress watching them. The appointment was authentic Atramentis, and dejected in blush, while the armchair was a authentic ice a fair throne, applicable for an Empress. The said Empress was an alpine adolescent woman with an ambience of aloofness and superiority. Her bulk was that of a complete baron and some able-bodied build. She had Atramentis beard that was a bit connected and agrarian, but aciculate aloof as her white blaw eyes abounding with coldness. About her eyes were Atramentis adumbration and authentic Atramentis lipsticks to bout her coldness. Her accoutrements was that of an authentic Atramentis baron suit, blaw undershirt, Atramentis overcoat, Atramentis heels, and an Atramentis awning that acts like a cane, and a hidden weapon for the Empress to use to join her enemies. And consistently had a smoke aqueduct on standby, not smoke her unless she wants to. She did accept an ample top hat, but mostly wears it inaccessible, and has it on the said table for now. This was Anastasia Cole-Bird, the abstruse babe of the Penguin, but took over the operations afterwards her ancestor die as her own and fabricated abiding her half-siblings don't get a distinct blow of the Penguin-bent empire. Of course, Anastasia runs her bit ascendancy beneath the table, an abysmal secret, while aloof actuality a authentic baron and owning the nightclub. She additionally has added access with added clubs and amid added things. Now she was currently in an affair with addition from the Falcon family. Then two bodies access the office, acid the affair and accord short. Their absorption on the brace that absolved who aloof so happens to be the Algid Empress's secretaries/high officers. The aboriginal was an absolute adorable atramentous woman who had atramentous beard and a ponytail and amber eyes. She additionally had atramentous glasses and red lipstick on her caressable lips. She wore a atramentous pinstripe dress with a white belt, a armlet on anniversary arm, a gold necklace, and atramentous heels. The additional was an absolute adorable woman who had a curvaceous actualization that was added by her white cocktail dress. She was Caucasian with abbreviate albino beard and amber eyes, while accepting two bracelets and a chaplet that hung over her bust. She had her cocktail dress, but additionally had fishnet stockings and heels. They are Candy and Tracy, who both were captivation some files and newspapers, acceptation some account got assimilate their tables, and needs the Empress's attention. Oh, accost their babes. How about we allotment of booze and dash? The affiliate of the Falcon said, flirting with the two, but was a non-attempt and fell bottom-ward to assimilate the addict by the impulse of the ammo hitting his shoulder. We see Anastasia had been the one to shoot the Falcon, with her awning burglarized, and showed an algid announcement on her face. The secretaries were not abashed by this, and affectionate of saw it coming. They are not for sale, not alike for exposure, Anastasia said, aiming her awning rifle, acid the idiot in the head, catastrophe the fool afore her, and her algid attributes matches with her ruthlessness. The black-haired baron afresh abashed to her desk, blame a button blackout, and calling a clean-up. Lark, Lunar, J, I charge apple pie up in my office. Except the boys booty the fool for my pets, it's lunchtime for them, Anastasia ordered, putting her awning to the side. First, two artery thugs wore business apparel and agitated the fool's anatomy out to be fed to the fishes, the sharks. A fresh three waitresses came who are the Algid Empress's bodyguards, and apple pie up the blood-soaked mess, took a bow to their empress, and larboard closing the aperture abaft them. Anastasia sighed, as she afresh adjudged to ablaze her aqueduct up and smoke a bit, adequate a bit, and demography the accent off her shoulders. Candy, Tracy, you both bigger accept some acceptable account than that fool from Falcon, Anastasia said, accepting her absorption on her secretaries. Yes, we do, madam. Candy started, demography account out of the book, and assuming to be the absolute account of today's avant-garde newspapers, the account of a hooded bat of some kind. Now, this captured Anastasia's absorption awful and took a picture. Batman? Anastasia questioned. Pretty abundant, a new one. This gator took bottom-ward a acceptable bulk of atramentous masks operation at the docks and harbors, Tracy replied. You abiding it's a new one? Not Batman aggravating article new, Anastasia asked, absent to be abiding as she can accept appealing acceptable assumption that this bat was new but bigger safe than sorry. I check, madam. This one is best acceptable and new, and an appealing arresting one at that, Candy said with a flash as she bargained her glasses a bit. You don't say, Anastasia said, article she could exceed with as not abounding except the audacity to put activity adjoin atramentous affectation and his accomplished operation. Anastasia smirked, actuality awful captivated in the coursing amid herself as the penguin queen and this new bat. Absolute captivated indeed. Time skip. Wayne Manor. We see the avant-garde gates of Wayne Acreage actuality opened by an assertive redhead, who was actuality for answers. She was an admirable adolescent woman with a connected redhead, about a bit orange, brace of ablaze dejected eyes which over her eyes had glasses due to actuality far-sighted, and had a bulk that is absolute amateur which men will about face active and some women are anxious of due to her training and nightly patrols. Her accoutrements was a dejected sweater, with a atramentous ballon on top with connected sleeves, orange pants, and atramentous boots. This was Barbara Gordon, who never anticipation she would be actuality again at Wayne Manor, and at night she was secretly accustomed as Batgirl. After seeing the big account in the bi-weekly, and afterwards media of Batman's return or a new one rising, Barbara Desi to Arch to Wayne Acreage to get answers on what the hell is activity on. Is Bruce back in Arena this new game? Or an actor was Arena copycat to afterwards ruin the aphotic knight's name? She was activity to acquisition out absolute anon, as she accessible the aperture and access the manor. Barbara frowned and saw that addition was absolutely continuing at the acreage, but who kept spinning in her mind. She went to the capital abstraction breadth of the manor. Actuality animated that Bruce and Alfred showed their way about the abode, or she would be absent in this massive house. The redhead afresh walks to the grandfathering clock, access the arch to the appropriate time, and afresh causing the hidden aperture to open, acceptance her to airing bench to be in the Batcave. Barbara can acquaint that addition was application the cavern and saw a cardinal of things online, actuality acclimated and bigger from the looks of it. She additionally noted that some areas assumed to accept a Japanese vibe, seeing a cardinal of styles, and training areas to fit that style. Then all of a sudden, Barbara heard the sounds of an auto active and fast and took cover, so as to not get spotted by this actor or Bruce, who came back home. She afresh saw atramentous custom auto with dejected lights and degen to it, excepting a appendage of dejected beck of a blaze afterward a bath due to the wheels. Once the custom auto came to a complete stop, the avant-garde console to breadth the disciplinarian was located, accessible up, and accustomed the said disciplinarian to appear out. Barbara's eyes widened in abysmal shock, absolutely abashed on seeing the new Batman, and acquainted the shiver ample her skip. Abysmal arctic feeling, and about anticipation, he was the austere reaper. Batman absolved over to the capital computer. Affairs his atramentous awning bottom ward and boring demography of his helmet/mask. The face guard came off. Agreement it on the table. Extensive abaft his affectation to unclip it to cull it off, and acceptance the albino beard to be seen. He sighed, best acceptable, a little exhausted out from the adamantine assignment, an aboriginal brace of nights of patrols. Barbara narrowed her eyes, seeing this was absolutely an actor demography, the alias that belonged to Bruce, and ability be abaft the dematerialization as well. She started to accomplish her moves slowly, as she didn't appetite to lose the aspect of surprise. With Naruto, he typed a few things while accepting the cipher atramentous book on standby, consistently abutting by for some admonition of sorts and abysmal in thought, not acquainted that Addition was in the cavern and his bouncer was bottom ward due to actuality home. Yeah, he saw Wayne acreage and Batcave his home, which he would booty affliction of it. It seems Roman Sione's atramentus affectation is demography added alarming moves any time aback I except been beating his operations about the harborages and some genitalia on the streets down. I charge to hit article big and harder, to beating off the Ben ascendancy bottom ward and accretion added affirmation to put Siones out of business for good. There is a cardinal of means, but which one can work? Naruto thought, abrading his button in thought, and went to his work, still not acquainted the assumption was advancing after peace to him to strike. Ah! Naruto grunted in affliction, as he aback acquainted a massive affliction in his abaft, and was kicked adamantine to the ground. Ow, okay, that hurt, Naruto complained, blaming himself for accepting his bouncer bargain, and anon came face to face who aloof kicked, abashed a little to the said actuality was a red-haired adorableness, and had a appealing piss-off attending on her face. Take it off, Barbara demanded, audacious at the impostor. Catching what the redhead meant, Naruto got up and said, No. Barbara still glared. If looks can kill, she would be killing the actor a cardinal of times. She had fresh desi to bandy a bite, but to her abruptness, that the albino was able to adverse the advance, and anon placed her arm abaft her aback in a quick motion. I anticipate you accept a misunderstand, miss, Naruto approved to say, abstracted the bearings bottom ward and captivation the redhead's accoutrements abaft her aback until she calmed bottom ward but still struggle. Barbara grunted and struggled to escape this hold, and she was hardly afflicted by that ascendancy, and how the blonde-haired actor was able to accumulate his ascendancy on her, and not able to be abutting to her to abstain actuality head but or bang beneath the bells. What misunderstanding? All I see is an actor demography Bruce's adamantine work, Barbara glared. I see. You apperceive Bruce as Batman? Naruto stated, communicable the redhead by surprise. Yeah, I know. Why? Barbara asked, apprehensive what the albino was accepting at. I am activity to let you, but you don't advance me. Do you apperceive Cypher Black? Naruto asked. Huh? Now, this acutely abashed Barbara, not heard that before. So agree? I let you go, you don't advance me, and I actualization you Cypher Black? Naruto offered. Deal, but if this is a trick, Barbara started but was cut off. I accept your adverse absorption, but amuse assurance me, Naruto said, oral absolute honest and an altruistic person, abundant to the redhead's abruptness, as he let her accoutrements go and accustomed her amplitude to achieve herself. Barbara rubbed her accoutrements a bit and kept her absorption bound on the blonde, accepting a bigger attending at him, and would accept he wasn't bad looking. She had to agitate her arch and get those thoughts as she anon saw the blonde-haired boyhood starting the video of Cypher Black, and would become a big abruptness to her. Small time skip. After the Cypher Atramentus message, Barbara was absent for words, actuality abashed and abashed to afterwards sad of the abounding accuracy of what happened to Bruce. Naruto placed a baiting Duke on her shoulder, abating her. I'm apologetic you had to see that, Naruto said, about abashed but befitting together. I should be adage apologetic to you about earlier, Barbara said, answer for arresting an addition who wasn't in the wrong. It wasn't your fault, a misunderstanding, and the bulletin wasn't beatific out to you or Robin, Naruto said, compassionate the redhead's acrimony and misunderstanding. I won't be abashed to get an appointment from him in the abreast future, Naruto commented. Yeah, so what are you activity to do now? Barbara asked, apprehensive what the adolescent man's plan was. Still do what I accept been accomplishing for the accomplished brace of days. Gotham would consistently charge a guardian or two, Naruto answered. Barbara was a bit abashed by that, and acutely saw that Naruto capital to do this like it was his calling and article he could do for people. And she fabricated her apperception up. Do you still appetite support? Barbara asked. This abashed Naruto, and waited for an explanation. I apperceive the aboriginal affair wasn't acceptable, but I appetite to abutment and advise you. If you are activity to be Batman, a fresh you activity to charge a lot of help. Bruce had fabricated a lot of enemies, and you would put an ample bullseye on your back putting on the cape and cowl. So I anticipate you could use my help, Barbara said, accepting her apperception fabricated up, and was activity to advise this new bat out as abundant as she can. I would like that, Barbara, Naruto said, actuality animated to apprehend that. Good. Acceptable to this apple, Naruto, Barbara said, as this was the alpha of a new and maybe admirable accord to grow. The new aphotic knight has gotten advice and abutment from Batgirl. We shall see what the brace would face next. Within an alpine and able-bodied company, Sionis Industries helps in creating and founding a cardinal of parties, to appropriate muscle for said parties, actuality up avant-garde for one of Gotham's best ascent abomination lords. And this one aloof so happens to be the ascent kingpin or godfather of crime. We see the man himself, who was an alpine man acid a dress suit, excepting the top is a white anorak with a aura de gin, a gray/black undershirt with a red tie, atramentus gloves, atramentus pants with dress shoes, and a white cape with atramentus fur about his amateur that is affiliated to the said cape. The aftermost allotment of his attire, which is affronted to his namesake, an absolute atramentus affectation that took the actualization of an animal skull with some aura de gin on the abandon of the said skull, and red eyes, that can bake the person's absolute soul. This was Roman Sionis, the atramentus affectation, and a non-aim to aphorism all of Gotham's abyss from big-time accoutrements ambidextrous to drugs. Black affectation has accomplished new heights, and taken over abundant ample bulk of the bent underworld, basic and empire. Currently, he was on the buzz with someone, talking about business, and absolutely blind of the bad account that would his board absolute soon. Of course, my men shall be able to leave Africa absolute anon, and appear the abode you assign them in South America. No. I affiance absence Minerva that my men would get the job, or otherwise, I activity to buoy their eyes and assurance off personally. Yeah, no, I won't do that. Not a bad fan of bodies, to be honest. Well, understand, I would accept that account you requested. Acceptable day, absence Minerva. Atramentus affectation said, blind up the buzz, and anon saw his claim to better that handles all of his operations during the day, the figurehead for the aggregation and helps accomplish abiding the bent ascendancy is run smoothly. The said abettor was an adolescent Asian woman with atramentus beard in a ponytail, amber eyes, with a brace of glasses over them, a lurid chaplet about her neck, and a blaze lipstick. She wore a blah businesswoman clothing with a white undershirt, blah skirt, and atramentous heels. She consistently carries a book clipboard that has all advice and abstracts of the abutting kingpin's work. This was Miss Lee, the abettor of atramentous mask. I said I wasn't to be bothered, Lee. Atramentous affectation reminded his abettor as he got up from his board and looked at the ample bottle windows to see some genitalia of the bird howl for his eyes, a bird howl that would be his for the taking. I apperceive, sir. However, a problem has appeared on your desk, Lee informed. Problem? If you beggarly Anchorage Operation Actuality burst. Accelerate the usual, cops pay for, abuse their families, or adulation ones to the dogs. And booty their eyes out if the bulletin doesn't appear out. Atramentous affectation said, not alive the abounding advice of his operations at the docks actuality shut bottom ward all of a sudden. No, sir. It's not the cops. It's rather addition else, Lee said as she brought out a biweekly and showed the avant-garde folio to her bang-up, who glared acutely at the photo of his new bat. What acquaint me what the hell is this? Atramentous affectation asked, or rather demanded, oral a bit angry. Batman, old or new, we are not sure, sir, Lee explained. I don't affliction if this Batman has alternate from the grave or some kid of his. I appetite him dead, booty affliction of it, Atramentous affectation ordered, in a simple and added calm accent than his added afterlife orders. Lee nodded her head, putting it bottom ward on the tablet, and said, We additionally accept removed Dr. Crane afterwards the safe abode was discovered. Better to accept that walking accumulation of sticks an afterimage of adaptation than dupe idiots to watch him. Accept my agenda bright tonight. I'm activity to pay the acceptable doctor a visit. Atramentous affectation said, acclamation his tie and arise his abutting a bit. Alive he would get a acceptable conditioning and fun on disturbing the collapsed adept of abhorrence in absolute artistic ache methods. Time skipped lower breadth of Sione's industries, down beneath the aggregation and an abstruse basement, which was basically a ache alcove breadth atramentous masks enemies suffered in cardinal or artistic tortures. We afresh see what looks like the anemic adaptation of the adept of abhorrence himself. Scarecrow all chained him and his activity went through a leader hell. Scarecrow was captured during the antecedent anarchy back all the roads were emboldened by Batman's disappearance. Atramentous affectation had captured the bag of sticks and capital to accept all of his fear-based technology for himself. Scarecrow denied it, but was atrociously interrogated for all of the locations of his lab research. He apperceived he was activity to die and wasn't abashed of afterlife, but rather actuality annihilation and acceptable this attenuated accompaniment that he already was. One day his assignment and abhorrence would be aggressive addition to rise. Have you heard that a new Batman had been sighted? One of the guards asked. This got Scarecrow's absorption and blue-blooded his arch a bit, befitting the actualization of actuality asleep. Nah, man. Really? I anticipation it was Batman that came back? The added bouncer replied. No, man. It's a new guy. Some of my company were during some break-in for actuality captured by this new Batman and Batgirl. Blind upside bottom ward oral the architecture of the bank, the bouncer explained. Damn, I feel apologetic for those poor bastards. Bigger in here, right? He joked. Ha ha, yeah. It's bigger to watch over Scarecrow actuality than do some work. I like to accumulate my basic together, the bouncer said, not absent to leave the assurance of the architecture to face this new Batman, alive some bad belief of burst basic and bloodied faces. You can say that again, his acquaintance agreed. Naruto had consistently believed in hope. It was what fueled his will to fight, to protect, and to advance avant-garde, admitting the allowance ample to join him. But as he wandered through Gotham, afterward Isle of Letters from the backward Bruce Wayne, he couldn't agitate the activity that Batman, Gotham's allegorical protector, was somehow still out there. Maybe he bare help. Maybe there was an adventitious to save him. However, absoluteness hit hard. Afterwards, hours of searching, it became acutely clear. Bruce Wayne was gone, his mission complete, and his activity snuffed out. The allegorical aphotic knight was actually dead. The weight of that ability hit Naruto like a bite to the gut, but it didn't accomplish him falter. If anything, it alone fabricated him added determined. Gotham couldn't allow to be afterwards a protector. It was a bird held drowning in corruption, darkness, and decay, and it bare addition to activity for it. Addition, who wasn't abashed to face the demon's ambuscade in the shadows. Naruto wasn't one to shy abroad from a challenge. As a shinobi, he had consistently been apprenticed by an abysmal faculty of amends and an adamant admiration to assure others. No bold breath he activate himself. He consistently stood to join the armament that approved to abuse the innocent. Gotham, with its abyss of abomination and its citizens' active and connected fear, was no different. It was a abode that bare addition to rise, to booty on the crimson of the bat. And Naruto knew, abysmal in his heart, that this world, this strange, burst place, was breath he was meant to be. The bulletin that led him actuality was simple but direct. It battened of a hidden accumulation of equipment, an abstruse Batcave, and a bequest that had to be continued. The articulation on the recording was firm, urgent, and abounding of authority. It was Bruce's final request: accumulate Gotham safe. And so, Naruto accustomed the Crimson afterwards hesitation. It was an abundant responsibility, but one that he was accessible to booty on. Following the admonition on his phone, Naruto abashed through the umbrageous hallways of Wayne Manor, a abode that acquainted like it had apparent too much. The amplitude of the acreage was bettered by the echoes of the past, the apparition of the bat still abiding in the air. He abashed accomplished the study. Branch adjoined the hidden access abaft the old grandfathering clock. The instructions were clear. About face the Duke of the Alarm, to bout the timestamp on his phone. A bendable bang echoed through the space, and the bank abaft the alarm shifted, absolute the alleyway that would advance him to the Batcave. As he stepped into the cavern for the aboriginal time, the weight of history and albatross acclimatized over him like a cloak. The Batcave was vast, silent, and empty, but it had an aberrant activity about it. This had been Bruce Wayne's domain, his home, his object of operations, his sanctuary. But now it would be Naruto's. He couldn't advise but feel an abysmal faculty of awe and acerbity as he stood at the entrance, adorable at the abode breath Gotham's protector had already formed endlessly to avert the city. For the abutting 2 weeks, Naruto threw himself into his new life. His training was grueling, but he knew that it was necessary. Application his adumbration clones, he advised the Batcave's circuitous systems, acclimatized himself with the technology, and accomplished his anatomy to acclimate to the concrete demands of his new role. He formed to adjustment and advancement the accessories that Bruce had labored behind, bringing the Batcave back to a bounding operation. Every day, Naruto acid his skills, blamed himself aloft his limits. But admitting his accustomed backbone and chakra-based abilities, he was accurate not to await too heavily on his shinobi powers. Gotham wasn't accessible for addition like him. Addition with abilities that could calmly be misconstrued as a threat. No, he would comedy by the city's rules, application his mind, his body, and the accoutrement at his auctioning to accompany amends to the streets. His suit, the bat suit, was his best claimed achievement. The old apparel Bruce had acclimated didn't fit his frame, and the architecture acquainted outdated. So Naruto formed endlessly to ability his own version, one that was tailored to his anatomy and his style. It wasn't aloof a suit, it was a symbol. A attribute of abhorrence for the abyss of Gotham, a attribute of accomplishment for the innocent, and an attribute of the amends that would acceleration from the colligiosity to absolve the Berg Hell of its corruption. When the clothing was assuredly complete, Naruto couldn't advise but beam at it for a connected moment. He acquainted the weight of the attribute clearing assimilate his shoulders. It was both an albatross and a burden, one that he wasn't abiding he was absolutely able for. But he knew he had no choice. Gotham bare a protector. The bat had fallen, and the Berg Hell was at the benevolence of its criminals. But it didn't accept to break that way. He would accomplish abiding of it. Naruto took an abysmal breath. Blame abroad his doubts and fears. He was accessible for his aboriginal patrol. His training had been intense, and he was assured in his abilities, but annihilation could actually adapt him for the absoluteness of the streets of Gotham. The Berg Hell was a bewilderment of abomination and corruption, with assemblage wars, biologic trade, and all address of abyss ambuscade in the shadows. But Naruto was undeterred. He would alpha small, acrimonious his targets carefully, and assignment his way up. He knew that the abyss and this Berg Hell were ruthless, and he would accept to be aloof as adamant if he was activity to booty them down. As he afflicted into his suit, the complete of his glove snapping into a boat echoed in the blackout of the Batcave. It was time. His aboriginal night as Gotham's new protector had arrived. Elsewhere in Gotham, meanwhile, in a begrimed bar nestled abysmal in the affection of Gotham, Roman Siones, better accustomed as Atramentus Mask, watched as his men drank and argued amid themselves. The abode reeked of alcohol, sweat, and smoke, and the conversation central grew louder as the night wore on. Atramentus Mask's men, emboldened by the booze coursing through their veins, began to allege advisedly about their boss's ambitions. "I'm cogent you. Atramentus Mask's got the assurance to go to war with the added abomination families. Penguin Two-Face, the clowns, he's gonna booty them all down," one blackmailer said, his words slurred with bashed bravado. The arch-thug, a beyond man with an asperous voice, leaned forward nodding. "Black Affectation wants to become the top bluff in Gotham Sea. The added abomination bosses? Their accident, their grip. The Penguin? Who knows what that bird's up to? Two-Face? As connected as he stays out of Atramentus Mask's way, he'll be fine. Another blackmailer laughed nervously. What about the clowns? The Joker's gang? The clowns? No leadership. They're lost, scattered. The arch blackmailer scoffed. Without the Joker, they're nothing. Unbeknownst to them, a Atramentus bulk stood aloft the bar, hidden in the darkness. Naruto, now clad in his bat suit, beneath on the rooftop, alert to the chat below. He had been celebratory Atramentus Mask's acceleration to power, and it was bright that the abomination aristocrat was authoritative a comedy for ascendancy in Gotham's bent underworld. The Burg Hal was on the border of an assemblage war, and Atramentus affectation was assertive to blast first. Naruto's apperception raced as he captivated the information. Penguin, Two-Face, the Joker's gang, the antithesis of ability in Gotham was about to shift, and Atramentus affectation was at the centermost of it all. He would accept to accumulate his eyes on all of them, cat and mouse for the appropriate moment to strike. But one affair was certain. Atramentus Mask's ascendancy was growing, and Gotham streets were about to see a new affectionate of justice. Naruto, as the new aphotic knight, would angle adjoin the ascent course of crime. He would become the attribute of abhorrence that Gotham needed, demography bottom-ward the abyss, who had abashed the Burg Hal for far too long. Tonight was alone the beginning. A new protector had risen, and Gotham would never be the aforementioned again.